Hey, good day, friends. This is Jesse Leach from Killswitch Engage. New record is This Consequence. Super stoked on it. And we're going to have a little chat about it right now. So let's get going.
Fantastic. Jesse, thanks for joining us today, brother.
Hell yeah. Pleasure, my friend. Thank you.
So, as you say, Killswitch Engage released your ninth studio album, This Consequence, on February the 21st. So, how are you feeling about this one?
Excited. And yeah, it's been a long time coming for many reasons. So there's a bit of, an excited anxiety. Like, let's just get it out there, man. Let's get it out there and let's start playing for the people.
Yeah. As you say, this is your ninth album, mate. Like, you still get the same feelings of excitement and anticipation as you did back when you released your first one?
It's a little different now. It's still very exciting, but there's a certain amount of I don't want to use the word ease, but just comfort in the fact that we've done this enough. And I think with this record especially, we all kind of feel like this feels like taking it to the next level. Even the decision to change the logo up, like it just feels like a shift into a different era of the band. So there's an added sort of excitement, but also sort of a calm feeling of like this feels right, if that makes any sense.
It makes sense completely. So, can you tell us a bit more about This Consequence from a musical point of view, then, mate, and what you were going for with this album?
Yeah, I think it came out naturally more aggressive. I think just because of the state of the world, what we'd all been through on a global scale, and also I think we all sort of took things for granted. And then when the pandemic came around and took a lot of things away from us, I think it reignited a passion. Once we got back out on the road and started to do this again, when it came time to make this record, it felt important. It felt like I had a whole new energy to it because there was a moment there where we're all like, are we still able to blazing?
Yeah. And you chose excuse me, you chose Forever Aligned as the first single to release off the album. So why pick that particular song to represent this album?
It felt sonically like a good representation of the album, but also I think the message, it's a message of love. It's a message of self-discovery. It feels like it's a nice way to introduce people to the new era, to the new album. And it just kicks off with a bang. And it starts very aggressive, and then when that chorus hits, it's like sing along time. It just all of us were like, "This is a good one to lead off on." It just felt right.
Yeah. And I noticed there's no song on there called This Consequence, mate. So it means the album title must have greater significance.
Yeah, it kind of came in halfway through. Mike, our bass player, who does the layouts and the artwork, and he's sort of like our artistic division. He does the t-shirt designs, all that. Him and I usually have a conversation about things, and this time around, I sent him all my lyrics, and he came back with that title, and it just fit. When I looked at the lyrics as a whole for what I was going for, it was like, oh yeah, this really does speak to the idea of, I guess the concept of the album without even realizing it was a concept thing. So once that title was in place, I sort of was like riding under the umbrella of it. It just made sense. It all flowed.
And how does that tie in with the album cover that's got like a couple of skulls sort of with look Celtic sort of writing or something on them?
Yeah. So interesting enough, and I don't even know if this was intentional, but in this day and age of AI where bands are using that sort of to create artwork and all that, this is a pushback against that because it's robots. It's sort of it looks like an ancient ruins of robots, and the idea behind it was I'm thinking of like movies like Terminator 2, post-apocalyptic, like the machines have failed, and those are actual sculptures done by a sculptor who sent them to Mike, and then Mike had them professionally photographed. So all of that it's real imagery, it's real artwork, and it shows the failure of the machines. So to me, it speaks volumes on like the consequences of our actions now that we are living in the machine age, where we're relying so much on these intelligent beings that we're designing, AI, all that, and it's a very treacherous course that we're on where we're losing touch with our humanity. Art is being lost to it in some ways. Certain people are losing their jobs to it. There's a cause and effect, and I do believe at some point we're going to see the tipping of the scales. We're going to see something that's going to go wrong, and I fear for the worst. So that wasn't even intentional. But when that artwork was sort of being created, it was like, aha, I see this. This makes sense. So it falls in line with like the fall of us, the aftermath, like discordant nation. It all sort of ties together in the same theme.
Interesting. Now, you've been quoted as saying that it feels more like a collaboration than the last few records have been. So, can you explain what you mean by that?
It's very much the five of us discussing things each step of the way. The last couple of records were everyone submitting their ideas. We work on them via email, just kind of email back and forth. And then Adam and I get in the studio and we hash out the vocals. This was very much get five guys in a room, crack some beers, jam on some stuff, talk about it, create things in a real time with each other. And then, the demos came out of that and I started working on the demos. Instead of just sending the demos to Adam, I was sending them to all four of those guys. And everybody had a voice. Everybody was able to say, I like this, I don't like this at all. Like, no, you need to rewrite that. Like this, you can do better. So I had like four guys coming at me with quality control. And as difficult as that really was, and I did have to rewrite a bunch of stuff, the end result is a group effort of all of us just pushing to put out a record that we all could sort of look back and go, we did everything we could to make this as good as it could be.
And you've also said that this consequence was very carefully planned and passionately written. So, does that mean was that mean it was planned song by song from the outset, or the direction was planned? What do you actually mean by that?
I'm sorry, say the question again.
Um,
I got distracted by AI.
That's so good. You've also said that this consequence is very carefully planned out and passionately written. So, what do you actually mean by that?
So, we kind of went through lyrics with a fine tooth comb. Like there was a lot of like not using the same words I've used in the past. What does the message mean? Adam and I discussing the message of the song. And then the track listing, even the way how it starts to how it ends, the entire record, it's meant to be listened as an album. The story is being told from point A to point B. But what also is interesting about this is we put it up. The idea was like a side A and a side B. I had this vision of me as a kid when I was skateboarding with my cassette tape, my headphones on, back when you have to flip the tape over, the side A, side B. So we laid out the first couple songs up to I Believe as side A, and then you flip it over and it starts out with the instrumental that leads into This Is Where It Dies. And to me, that was just nostalgic of the early days of listening to music, the way we used to consume music. So it's very much laid out in a cohesive way where every song is purposely put in order so you can listen to it from start to finish and get a story that's being told.
And that's pretty hard in the modern age too, isn't it? Because everybody's got their shuffles and their skips and stuff. So it's good to see a band still putting that time and effort into making a cohesive album rather than just expecting people to pick and choose.
Yeah, I think we live in the day and age of just people picking up a song on Spotify or Tidal or whatever, or Apple Music, and digesting it, which you could do. But I feel like if you really want to get the point of like what we're trying to convey, listening to the album in its entirety is the way to do it for sure. And I don't think we'll ever stop doing that, regardless of where society is or what trends are going on in music. I love the idea of a long format album. It's just something we all grew up with too.
It's romantic, isn't it?
What's that?
It's romantic in a way.
Yeah, it is, of course. Yeah. I have memories of me like sort of sitting in front of the record player and opening up the vinyl and, big can headphones on and reading the lyrics and studying the artwork and all that. I love it. I still love doing that.
Now, one thing Killswitch Engage has always been known for is your blending of harmonies with brutality. So, how easy or how difficult is it in the writing and recording process to get that balance right?
I sort of think it sits in the middle of easy and difficult. I think it's something that sort of comes naturally, but there are moments where Adam and I will discuss, I'll be singing a song, singing a part rather, and he'll say, I feel like what you're saying there needs more. Your melody doesn't serve it well. It needs to be aggressive. Yell it or scream it. Don't sing it. And vice versa. There's times when it's like, well, maybe try to sing that part. I think of The Fall of Us. the chorus is straight up blast beats. And my idea was like, well, why don't we just put a hook over that, sing over that blast beat? Because the obvious thing to do would be go, scream that blast beat, but let's put in a really interesting, catchy melodic thing. So there is stuff that just flows, and then there's stuff that like we'll sort of discuss and purposely like throw something different in, because I think keep it interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Now, Killswitch Engage was formed around the turn of the century, 25 years ago, mate. So, what was the musical climate like that gave birth to the band, and where did you fit in initially?
I don't think we really fit in very well, actually. When we first sort of got going, people were confused. Is this a hardcore band? Is it a metal band? Like, what? I remember reading a review from a death metal fanzine where they were basically saying these guys are trying to be death metal, but they're not death metal. And we kind of chuckled. We're like, we're not death metal. Like, we're not trying to do that. I think the blend of styles we were doing was fairly unique, but we were surrounded by bands that, like, I can name bands that some people might not have ever even heard of. Starkweather, Candiria, Dead Guy, Bloodlet, Integrity. They're bands that were in the hardcore scene, but were playing metal. So it was a real mismatch of styles. And we were sort of part of that scene. And all we did is added a little more melody in. I was pulling from like Discord Records music, bands like Fugazi and Hoover, and sort of the more post-hardcore stuff as well. So it's just being at the right place at the right time in the right scene, being surrounded by people who are being super creative. And we sort of stood on the shoulders of giants in our local scene and put out a record like Our Language is Breathing, which pulled from all those elements. And it was the right place at the right time.
Right. And how has the band sort of adapted over the years to survive the ever-changing trends of the music industry? Like, I know you've always done things your way, but it would have been hard, with everyone else coming and going and just sticking to your own path.
I think it's just being genuine, being genuinely who we are, and not really compromising and worrying about trends or what's going on. We didn't detune our stuff. We didn't add keyboards or we didn't add bass drops. Like, the trends and the genres that are created in music, I respect all of them. I think it's great that music continues to evolve, but I think you have to play to your strengths. I think Killswitch is good at what we do, and we may push our sort of boundaries a little bit stylistically, but we're also smart enough, I think, to know like we still have sort of a sound that people enjoy, and our fans have been with us this long. So we're not going to give you a record with no screaming, or we're not going to do an acoustic. It's just we're going to continue to be Killswitch. And I think if you're true to yourself, it doesn't trends come and go. It doesn't matter if it's quality music and you've got a fan base that loves you. You can continue on the way you are, and I think we've done that.
Well said. So along those lines, mate, like how would you say that the band's music has changed since Alive or Just Breathing to This Consequences?
I think there's a maturity there, just from life lived, wisdom, as far as the lyrics and the approach to the music. And then I also think, stylistically, we've changed. People have gotten different influences coming in and pulling in. So it naturally grows with you. The style of music we play is a reflection of who we are. So every album is sort of capturing a moment in time that is, five guys doing their best to give out the best expression and art that we have. So I think it's just kind of it feels like a natural progression when I look back on it. Nothing's really that jarring to me. Um, I do think the message has changed a little bit lyrically. Um, but on the whole, if you've been with us since the beginning, I think there's a familiarity that hasn't really changed much. That being said.
Cool. So before I let you go, mate, we've started a new segment called Photobomb, where basically I just troll through your social media before we chat. I come up with a couple of photos I want to ask you a bit more about. So the first one is this one, mate. Like, where was that taken? Like, that doesn't look like too stable a bridge to me.
Yeah, that was in somewhere in Virginia. It was on a day off, and I can't even remember the name of the town, but it was kind of in the middle of nowhere. And we had a day off and just went for, so we had a photographer come in because we knew we had to get these photos done. It's an old town with like Civil War relics. It was like a historical landmark where the Confederate resistance was. So it's an interesting historical location. But yeah, that bridge was definitely not in the best condition.
And then I came up with this one too. Like, is this like a traveling movie theater you take with you when you go on tour?
So what we did was, and it's going to continue now that we did it this way. During the pandemic, when you were back on tour with Slipknot, you couldn't really hang out with other bands. You still had to keep your distance. We were getting tested every day. That whole awful thing was going on. So it's like, we'll make the best of it. We set up a tent. We had a grilling. We had movies like Young Frankenstein right there. And, just out of reach there, 6, 7 feet away is another band drinking beers, hanging out. And we're sort of just creating an atmosphere where we're socially distant, but we just want to hang out and party with each other like we would anyway on a tour. So because of this, now it's a thing. Like the parking lot posse, like going out and like making sure we grill and we hang out and we have a good time, weather permitting. So this is going to continue on. Just now we can hang out with people face to face instead of being distant. So born out of necessity through the pandemic.
It's so cool. So, all right, Jesse, thanks for your time today, mate. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. This Consequence is out February 21st. It is a sensational album, mate. So congratulations and take care until next time.